Every now and then, there are anime that tend to push the envelope of the genre. Sometimes they push against political lines, others against the limits of animation. Some others go for audio or narrative to go even further beyond than their predecessors. For Carole Tuesday, a show about two girls working together to create music in an AI-driven entertainment industry on Mars, pushing in every direction is what they, and the creators of the show, do best. For a show directed by Shinichiro Watanabe with a Netflix backing, Carole Tuesday is unsurprisingly Western in its approach to just about everything, except the animation style. On future Mars, the setting is simultaneously familiar and unfamiliar in equal measure, with that unique blend of cowboy bebop sci-fi realism, creating a natural atmosphere to dive into. While there's magnificent skyscrapers and wall-to-floor animated video screens, there's also diners and urban environments more at home with our own modern age, with just a hint of futurism thrown in via video screen tables and other futuristic tech like that. There's even skateboards not that much different from what are being created now for Carole to speed around her city in a more modern overalls and tube top ensemble. But perhaps the most important thing this anime does is shows us what a future would look like, where people don't have to live in fear, worry, or even judgment for being themselves. And it does so without making it the focus of the show, which is important because it doesn't feel like pandering or distracting from the themes and narrative, since it fits snugly in with everything else that the show is trying to do. Yep. That's right, there's a big old lesbian kiss. No Yuri undertones, no shame, no jokes. It just is, like any other relationship would. And the only reaction to it is embarrassment at seeing such a public display of affection. While it takes seeing it to realize what I'm talking about, the writers of the show are impeccable at inserting what should be facts of life by making them seem as normal as they truly are in real life to the viewer. Treating aspects of love like this is very important too, in getting people who disagree with such views because of religious or personal reasons to accept and tolerate concepts like it as a form of normalization. Later on, this same character, Marie, asks whether or not Carole Tuesday have significant others, specifically asking if they have a boyfriend or girlfriend, and if they'd like her to hook them up with some people she knows. What this tells us is that sexuality is much less of a concern for people, as a future where humanity on Mars would obviously be. Love is the most important factor to a relationship, so trying things out with what you think you're into is perfectly acceptable in this world, it seems, as evidenced by the bisexuality of Aragon, the unconcerned with gender-restricted fashion, or perhaps even transgender nature of Angela's manager Mama, and the divorce between Marie and Gus resulting in Marie finding true love with her future wife. It could be argued that since these characters are all related to the entertainment industry, they would naturally be more in touch with themselves or willing to experiment as creative individuals. But since we've only really had experience with this subset of people, there's no real way to know for sure. However, what we do know for sure is that love is a staple of this series, one that comes in many different forms for each character. For Tuesday, the song The Loneliest Girl shows that love is absent from her life as a result of her mother's workaholic nature and cold treatment shown best between the mother and brother in the show, despite the paradisical nature of her mansion home. Finding love of music through her guitar is important to her and keeps her sane, but it's only when she meets Carole and finds a form of love outside herself that she finally feels free enough to be who she wants to be. Brown in Laundry meanwhile describes Carole best, as someone who felt so stifled by the world despite knowing exactly what she loved to do, make music. Unfortunately for her, the starving artist stereotype is most present in her life, causing her to seek jobs in an endless cycle of pragmatic realism that clashes hard with her personality. Carole is an incredibly forward and powerful presence, pushing through all her obstacles with almost brute force, and ending up fired over and over as a result. It's only when meeting Tuesday that she gets that piece she's been missing all along, finally moving forward toward that primary love in her life. Together, these two cross paths with Gus, a man fallen out of love with the current trends of AI-created music and missing the glory days of genuine music created out of affection for the medium. So when he saw Carole Tuesday's performance, he knew he had to do anything he could to bring his love to light in a world sorely lacking it. Of course, that wouldn't be easy without help, and the fact that he calls up an old flame to get that help speaks volumes about the kind of man he is. Kind-hearted despite his rough exterior, with the charisma that draws people to him. Not only that, but he genuinely wishes his ex-wife good luck on her next marriage. Because even though they're apart and separate, that love between them never really extinguished entirely. It just changed. Became something new, like flames often do. They're often a symbol of change for a very good reason. Speaking of flames, Aragon is also in this series. Yep, he sure is. No, but his bisexuality is an important aspect of representation despite its lack of effect on the show, as he's more of an asshole, the classic thinks he's better than everyone type. He has certain good qualities, such as his admiration for capable men and women and his affection for Roddy, enough to lend the kid his convertible. But he's also got some more unfortunate womanizer qualities as well. Of course, this is just as important as more positive aspects of inclusion because it shows that people are complicated and similar despite their love lives. You're gonna have assholes and dicks in equal measure to your wonderful people, and sexuality doesn't play a part in that aspect of personality. Though it is important to note that Aragon didn't press charges against the girls when he really could have, so he's not all an asshole. He might have a heart of gold under that sterling exterior, and maybe even a weak spot for talented people like Roddy who could probably use his help. Luckily, there are always going to be people in your life you can count on, and Roddy is exactly the kind of person you want to have in your corner. Sometimes all it takes to make it big is to have a kind-hearted person looking out for you and making connections you need to get ahead in life. Of course, skill and viral videos help too, because brilliance recognizes brilliance in the creative aspects of life, I've noticed. His desire to help Carole Tuesday then is interesting, because he seems to be somewhat of a loner type despite his association with big people like Aragon and Gus. However, when you look at it as Roddy working with professionals of the industry as part of his career, it's not that crazy to think he has a few contacts despite his shyness, but it does mean that it may be hard for him to make true friends. That's why his love for these two girls is important. They push him out of his comfort spaces and let him have brand new experiences. Though Gus does admittedly and initially push him into a couple of tasks, Roddy soon volunteers himself to get things done, showing his growth as a character even across these short 4 episodes. Similarly to Roddy, there's another character in the series who has been given little time to have a character arc: Angela, the model cut to between scenes with Carole Tuesday. Built up to be a competitor and antagonist to our 2 main characters, Angela doesn't seem to truly love anything that she's doing with her modeling career, as she makes clear many times that she wants to sing. Thanks to her manager's efforts and what seems to be a theme inherent in Angela's upbringing, a shortcut in the form of Tao and his AI are brought to her attention to help create a song just for her. As she's coming to learn, however, there are no shortcuts for creating something out of love. Used and abused by her songwriter's instruments, perhaps Angela will eventually find that making music from the heart is more important to her than having a song made for her artificially, learning to accept herself and maybe even love herself in the process. Of course, it would be more realistic to have her continue down the road she's treading anyway, because some people honestly don't care what the means are to achieve their end result. As we come to a close, I want to end on Tao, who seems to be emotionless, no doubt thanks to his admiration and constant interaction with the AI driving the entertainment industry currently. While more clinical, it's possible that Tao does know what love is, despite the show's obvious setup of him and his AI versus the homegrown love and affection that Carole and Tuesday represent with their music. Taking pride in your work and creating something artificial to increase the enjoyment of many people isn't necessarily a bad thing, because you're still helping create something. And I believe Tao would agree with the words of Nisa Monogatari's antagonist, Deishu Kaiki. The fake is of far greater value. In its deliberate attempt to be real, it's more real than the real thing. I think about this quote a lot, because in some ways my videos are just fake versions of the people I admire, like Demo or Digi or Best Guy Ever, with a bit of my own identity thrown in, I hope, just like theirs is built on who they admire. Similarly, Tao most likely admires his creations and that of his AI the same way, and though I don't believe the show will go down this road, I would prefer for him to continue AI-created songs because that's what he wants to do, even if he does come to recognize the homespun music can have its own charm too. Beauty is in the eye of the beholder after all, and if someone enjoys artificially created music, that's perfectly fine to me. Love is love. Love has its dark sides and its light sides, but as long as no one's getting hurt and there's consent on all sides involved, it's all that really matters. And that's why I almost always end my videos with my customary sign-off. Remember to enjoy the way you watch anime. and media in general. Because as long as you're having fun, that's all that really matters. I'll see you next time.